Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Voorhees Retro 81. It's good to see you again. And I thought, as the situation at the moment is that weather-wise, I'm not entirely sure when or how frequently I'm going to be able to tape. As I've got some time to tape now, I put together some videos quickly. So we're going to have a look here at Tengai. Oh dear, Japanese shooter games, eh? So, yeah. Hide your mothers, sons, brothers, daughters, whatever. So I was intentionally not going to play that character. Aside from anything else, she's got a rubbish bomb, which is really difficult to effectively use. But, God, jeez Louise. It is what it is anyway. So this is definitely one of the more low-key. Yeah, this series has that character, and she's one of the most low-key pervy characters in shooter history. But I won't be playing as her because she's not only like low-key pervy waifu or whatever, she's also not actually very good to play as in the game. I'll be using someone else entirely. So without further ado, let's get this rolling. And I'm going to send it, play it on Monkey, I don't care, and you'll see exactly why I don't care. So I'm going to play as Junis. So this is from the same team who did Strikers 1945-3, which those of you who've been with us a while may remember I did a video on a while back, and I suck at, I wouldn't go that far, but I'm not very good at Strikers 1945-3, and I don't think anybody who's not a cyborg isn't. Although not on the PC, I've had this game a while, so I'm relatively comfortable with Tengai, which, thanks to a way a friend of mine pronounces it, I can't stop hearing as Tengais. But Vic, if you're watching, I'm sorry, I stole your joke. It was way too funny not to. But yeah, this is a really cool shooter. From what I'd say this is probably the last of what I think of. It's going to sound daft because they're not a very big company, but I'm a really big fan of Psikyo's shooters, or Psikyo. I'm not entirely sure how you would pronounce them. I've never heard it pronounced by somebody who's a native Japanese speaker, and obviously they're a Japanese company. But yeah, they kind of after this they did a bunch of games that were not pixel style, and I kind of think of the pixel style games as, like, at the risk of sounding corny, like the golden age of Psikyo's games catalogue. Because after that, like the more pre-rendered ones, like Strikers 1945-3 and Gunbird 2, oof, crikey, and Gunbird 2, I'm not a big fan of. The difficulty gets kind of like really, they're not so much hard as they are just intentionally imbalanced, so that when they were in the arcades they could like devour your credits. Which, from a business angle, I can kind of see why they did it, because the prior games like Gunbird, Strikers 1945, Strikers 1945-2, Samurai Aces, or I believe that's Sengoku Ace. I think this is called Sengoku Blade if you're in Japan. It's Sengoku something anyway. Either this is Sengoku Blade and Samurai Aces is Sengoku Ace, or it's the other way around. But they're called Samurai Aces and Tengai in this country, and I think in America as well. But yeah, these games they're learnable. They're learnable by normal human beings, as opposed to like your you're too legit to quit types. You can get I think most people after a few tries will be able to get to at least to the midpoint of this game. So these games, pretty much all of the Psikyo shooters aside, no, even Zero Gunner 2, which I think was the last shooter they made. I don't know what. I've not played Gunback or Gunbarrage or however you pronounce it. I've not played that, but all of these games, they have sort of randomized opening stages out of possible selection. So in this game, I believe you play through 3 stages, and then you get like a sort of mid stage that's a bit of a boss rush, where I'll probably die because things get rather silly at that point. But I'm going to play through to the boss rush stage and see how I do, and if I manage to escape the boss rush stage, I'll just stop it there. But yeah, then after these first few randomized stages, the remaining stages are always in the same order, which I think is it's a cool way to kind of keep you on your toes. Especially because Psikyo have a take a drink every single time I pronounce Psikyo differently. They have a sort of policy of having quite short stages in their games. They aren't like, you know, say your Gradius or R-type stages where they just go on forever and you have to memorise the whole thing. So the stages are short enough that you can memorise them to a certain extent quite quickly and quite quickly get into the game, but having them appear randomly means that... Oh! Don't ask me how I lasted that long in all that. Some of that. So having them randomised means that, like, enemy attack patterns and such like change, especially bosses. So this is the point where the game, you know, whoever you're playing and however the first 3 stages have mapped out, from this point on you will always be playing the same levels in the same order. So I believe there's a possible 4 stages. The other thing that they've when this came out on PlayStation 2, this game was mildly censored, and I don't really agree with censorship to a certain extent, but at the same time, when you're playing as the character that we saw in the intro with the massive Norca tube, let's be honest, when you're playing as her, it's pretty dirty what these guys say about her, which I think isn't really on, you know, even if it is a Japanese game, you know, if you're going to release... I kind of prefer the anglicised PlayStation version for that point alone, but I'm not having to deal with weird Japanese H-game nonsense. As you can see, that boss is kind of like, that boss rush is a bit crazy. We'll just let this time out, because that's, you know, that's a fair amount of the game shown. I think that's about sort of half, maybe 2/3 of the game. Oh, I was going to get a high score, because I've already got lots of high scores. But yeah, that's Tengai. Pretty good game, based on the slightly carry-on Benny Hill nature of some of the Japanese stuff in it. Probably not one for people who aren't, like, you know, into their Japanese culture, and therefore, you know, go a bit red-faced when they see some anime character with huge boobage that's completely unnecessary. I mean, that's the only thing I'd really take away from this from a design point of view. Otherwise, this game is gorgeous. Really good looking title. I just don't understand why in this sequel they kind of went over the top and like made God, I can't even remember her name, but the what's name, the Shrine Maiden character, like ludicrously ludicrously fan servicey. It just seems like, you know, it's a shooter that came out really late in, like, you know, the arcade lives and such. Like, you know, it's not like anybody was going to play it, you know, who didn't like shooters, who you know, went, oh god, I'll play that because that character's got ludicrous you know what's. But it is what it is. Doesn't take away from the fact that this is a really good, if very difficult, side-scrolling shooter, and one that I think probably, you know, deserves a bit more of a fair shake than it really gets. Obviously, like, a lot of these games are tricky to track down. Thankfully this one came out on the PC, with most of the Psikyo titles now have come out on the PC, and I believe the Switch. I don't know if they come to the PS5, 4 or Xbox One, or the Special K, whatever they're calling the new Xbox Tower thing. I don't know if they've come to that. That's not a diss on that system, by the way. I just can't remember all these special names that they give things now. I'm not good at it, you know. I don't know why they didn't just call it the Xbox 4, and they didn't call the Xbox the Xbox One, the Xbox 3, and etc. etc. I just think it's like Microsoft trying to be ridiculously different, and now there's two Xbox Ones. Is what it is. Anyway, moan. I hope you liked the video. I hope you're all doing well. I hope this dragging on lockdown isn't going too badly for everybody. I know we're kind of a lot more free in the UK than we were. If you're viewing from somewhere where you're not, I'm really sorry that's the case, and I hope that you're doing all right despite that. And take care. Speak to you all later on. Peace out.